So where we actually start this is today we are actually going to talk about a PACTL and the threading. Okay. So what is thread? What we actually talked about thread. What is thread? What is thread?
Exhibition.
Thread is nothing but a piece of an execution. So it is a part of your process. That is what you're seeing. Someone left. Okay, look, it seems. So hope you get it. What is thread? Okay. Just assume this is your process. Okay. So process. What do you mean by process? So, say for example, if you are adding something or if you are executing your program, that is called a process, right? So, what happens? Your system, how process works. So, when you initiate something, your your machine will allocate some process unique process ID for that, and belongs to that ID. Your actual process is going to run in it. Say for example, if you're playing a game, that's a process. If you are working with an Excel sheet, that is a process. If you are um, utilizing that like start menu etc, everything is in a process, right? So between that, if you do within a process, whatever an execution is taking place, that is called thread. Okay. So in a single thread application, uh, it will actually execute one task at a time. Okay, that is called single thread. I mean, in a process, it will actually going to execute one at a time. And what is multi-threading? What is the benefit of it? Multi-threading in the sense, am I audible, right? Hello.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. So what is multi-threading in the sense? Yeah. What is multi-threading? If you want to in a same single process, if your machine allow you to execute a more than one execution at the same time, that is called multi-threading. And what is the benefit of it? Say for example, if you're actually transferring a file from one to another. Okay. Just assume you are actually transferring 100 MB 100 megabyte data, and it will take one at a time. So I mean one file at a time. So you have 100 files, each 1 MB means, so each time it will take like a 1 second. So totally it will consume 100 seconds, right? So in a single thread, you're actually transferring one at a time. But if you're enabling multi-threading, so the process actually split into two. So what happens? There is a two file going to transmit in the same time. What happened? This will actually reduce your transmission time. At the end, you can achieve it. You will actually achieve that transmission within 50 seconds. That is an advantage of multi-threading. Means your process have more space to execute. So we don't need to waste of it. So we are actually utilizing it. Got it? So your process have enough capable to uh, execute a multiple thread at the same time. So we don't need to waste it, right? So that's why we are enabling multi-threading, which will eventually increase your execution speed. So it will improve your performance also. That is an advantage of multi-threading. How to achieve multi-threading? So we are using a module called a threading. So in a thread, we are going to use a class called threading dot thread. So with so yesterday I have shown you that Okay, so I demonstrated two function. So this just hey, I told you this is my two function. One is this and one is this. Okay, I'm going to execute both. Okay, what will happen if I run this? So here I just kept it for a bit time consumption. So because you all know the single line will consume a less than a second, and this two will consume a less than a second. If I iterate 1,000 numbers, it will consume a bit lengthier, that right? That's why I kept some iteration. I set a limit up to 1,000 times. Got it? So here, this is a way to create a thread. Just say threading dot thread. So what it is? Threading is what? Threading is a module, and dot thread is what? Class. Or you can say from import thread. This also fine. Got it? You can use this also. This also is enough. And inside a thread, how many arguments are there? Group, target, everything is what? Which type of parameter it is? So thread, what is thread? Thread is what? Here thread is what? Which data type it is? Pardon?
Method.
Is it method? Just before I said, just see the document. In the help section, they mentioned, right?
Class.
What it is? It is
Class.
class. And what is the requirement for this? So which type of parameter it is? So it is actually need a
Key.
certain parameter, right? It is what? It's a
Keyboard.
default. It's a default parameters. It has a default. So we don't need to pass anything. It is there already. If you want, we can override it. It is already contains a default, right? If you want, we can override it. That's it. These are our default arguments. So default parameters. So target means what? Target is nothing but a function which you want to call with the help of thread. And argument, if you have anything to pass into that function, that's it. Okay. So here we don't need to call a function like this way. So if you want to call, we don't need to do like this, because function call will be taken care by thread. If you do like that, what happened? The function will be called and then output alone will be passed into it. But target require a function object. Function object. This is a function object. This is not. This is what? What it is? Target require function object. I mean a callable object. Callable object in the sense eventually it's a function. Got it? Callable object means something which we can able to call, but what it is?
Function.
It is a result of function call. Got it? This is what? This will actually send a result of function call. Understand? Got it? So we
Yes.
need a function call, function object. So we need to send like that. An argument you need to pass it here as a tuple. Okay. So threading will take care of function calling itself. So it will take care of function call, etc. We don't need to worry about that. Means this will actually create what? This will actually create what is actually creates
Process ID.
class instance. This is what this is class, right? We are instantiating a class. So you need to know what each line is going to do. I'm asking you technically what it is. This is what you're passing constructing objects. You need to construct something, right? And this is what? This is class instantiation. Got it? This is what? Class instantiation. And I'm having a two function, right? So I'm having a two function to call. So this is actually created two class instance. Understand? So till now the function was not called at all. So till now the function was not called at all. This is a class one instance. I mean the for print square class instance, and this is function print cube class instance. That's it. We have instantiated two class with two different class objects. Understand? This is class instance with various class objects. Understand? Are you clear?
Yes.
And this is the way to start. When you say t1 dot start, this won't wait for the function to terminate. This will be moving on to next class, next line, next line for an execution. That's it. Okay. So this is called threading. So with the help of thread, if you say start, what happened? This will actually start to call this function, and it won't wait for a function to terminate, and it will be keep moving on to next line for an execution. So this is what I said. It will execute simultaneously. Once it is started, immediately next will start immediately. Understand? Next function will start immediately without waiting for a previous function. And here, this also, it won't wait for next. This also won't wait for this function to terminate, and eventually it will be moving on to next line. So when I execute, see that. So even done also doesn't wait for a line to terminate. So it is printed in between somewhere else. See that. So done doesn't wait for this function to terminate. Got it? Everything was running independently. So when we're using thread, whenever your execution doesn't require previous line for completion. I mean, it is not synchronous. Whenever your execution is not a synchronous, then we can go with threading. And hope you are getting what is an advantage of threading. Got it? So we can run independent process at the same time, and it will. So whenever you want to utilize more space and to speed up the process, there we're using threading. Understand? Yeah.
Here we used threading for T1 and T2 only, right? But
Yes.
why it's happening for the print also? Threading
Print is
happening.
not a threading. So I'm explaining the flow. So T1 dot start will initiate a function call, and it will never wait for your function to terminate. You should, by default, what will happen in a Python when you're calling a function? So just assume this is a function call, okay? And this line will never work until this will execute. This will complete, right? Normal. I'm talking about a normal function call. So our next line will wait until the previous one supposed to complete, right? But in threading, it won't happen. So here, what happened? This line initiated T1 function call, and this line initiated T2 function call, and it won't wait for. So next, so print doesn't wait for both to complete. So what it means, T2 started and it's move on. It just simply move on to next line. That's it. Even it is a
Okay.
print or anything, even it is print or anything, it is eventually move on. Just say 10 plus 15. This line will execute, and here it will show the results. Understand? You will get a results. It will be in middle of anywhere. See that? So you got a result, right? It is 25. Understand?
Yes.
So it is up to that the current execution time. That's it. You will get it because it is running parallelly, right? So you will get in anytime, anywhere. That's it. Understand? And if you want to make your thread synchronous, just say T1 dot join. I mean, not a T1. It is up to the class instance. The class instance or join means what happened? This line won't start until this is supposed to complete. Got it? Are you clear? So this will wait until the P1 process to complete. See that? Understand? We get it? So if you want to make it synchronous, you just say start join. Join will make it synchronous. Otherwise, what happen? It will work like a asynchronous function call. Understand the difference? Are you clear with it? Are you clear? Hello? Are you clear?
No, what do
Yes.
you mean synchronous? It's
Yes.
if you use join means what happened to T1 and T2?
So by default, Python is a synchronous, means it's a line by line execution, right? So one line is completed and it will be move on to next line, and next line is completed and it will move on to next line. Got it?
Hmm. Hmm.
But asynchronous means if your function takes a more time to execute. Got it? But Python in next line will wait until the previous function call supposed to complete. But JavaScript is an example for asynchronous process. So it won't wait for a function call to complete. It will be move on to next line. I mean, whenever you're
Okay.
doing a API request, I mean, it's a HTTP request at all, it won't wait for that. So it is move on to next line. That's it. Because that is asynchronous.
Okay.
Means the one line doesn't wait for next to complete.
Hmm.
So it's a concept that's it. So what is synchronous? So each line will be synchronous with previous line, but asynchronous it doesn't wait for it. That is the
Okay. If
difference.
you use join means that is the synchronous.
I'm in a thread. In a thread. That's it. Just only within a thread. So because you're why we using thread in a traditional module, it is already synchronous, right? Why we using threading to make it asynchronous? I mean asynchronous to run to run two different processes at the same time to utilize my system performance. That's why we're using threading. Understand? Oh, got it? So
Yes.
to make so by default threading is asynchronous. To make it synchronous, we're using join. If you want to make a threading synchronous, we're using join. Get it? So now what happened? Cube will run anywhere, any part of your program. See that cube was run. Cube was executed in any of your any part of your program.
If we are using the join, then again the processing time will increase, right? So
Pardon?
waiting for the other process.
Yes,
We are
T2.
using the join.
Yeah, T2 will wait until T1 is supposed to complete. See that cube will execute once the process one completed. See that? That is a join. Join means this will actually wait. The next line will wait until the previous one is supposed to complete. That is when usage of join. It will actually make it synchronous. Understand? You clear? Are you clear?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is threading. We have a lot to explore. So just please practice and let me know if you have any doubts in this. Okay. And we'll move on to
Wait,
yes, please.
yeah,
Yeah, yes.
we in the, yeah. See, basically, when we started using class, right?
Okay.
What it was means, it was the when we execute any class, it will put everything in the memory, and then
Okay.
it will execute. Correct.
Yeah.
So based on that concept, then when we use this correct, right? So it will automatically it should start when you call that the threading should start automatically. Correct.
Which one?
So why exactly? Yeah. So why we need a join again? It should run. Correct.
So join to will by default why we are actually using threading instead of a traditional method. So this is a traditional method, right? To call a function.
Correct. Correct.
Why we using threading?
to run parallelly.
Yes, that is an
Basically,
right.
run.
So what happened?
Yeah.
Without join, your threading will happen asynchronous. That is, T1 doesn't wait for T1. T1 to T2 doesn't wait for T1 to complete, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yes. Yes.
that's it.
Correct.
So, but join, I'm just saying it is an add-ons. That's it. So this will make you make it synchronous. That's it. If you want a synchronous, we don't need a threading at all. But if you use a threading, what happens? You can utilize two different execution in the same process. So we can utilize the unused memories. That's why we're using threading. And multi-threading means
Okay.
that's why we're using multi-threading. And with the help of join,
Okay.
we
So
can make it synchronous. That's it.
okay. So you mean to say that suppose if I have other class also, like T1, T2, 3, T4.
Yes, you can.
So one joint statement will help all the
No,
thread execute.
no.
No.
So T1 means it will be deal with T1 alone. And if you want to see that, done actually executed before cube is supposed to complete. In between the cube supposed to complete. Got it? So we have to say T2 dot join to make it independently. See the difference? Otherwise, it will be
Okay.
collapse with it. So now what happened? This also synchronous before moving on to next line. We need to add join to make it synchronous. Otherwise, what happened? Next line will be an independent. So this line will be an independent. So this line started, and this doesn't wait for T2 to complete. You will actually make it asynchronous. So as you said,
Okay.
if you want to make everything synchronous, we need to maintain something a daemon. Daemon means it will act like a parent. Everyone will follow that. And when you say start T1 dot start, everything will follow the instruction. That is like a chief. Got it? So just explore it. That's why, because here after you need to start learn yourself. Got it? I said I gave you a clue that is called daemon thread. So you need to maintain one as a daemon. So then what happened? Everything will follow that. So as he said, you can implement it. So when you say T1 dot start, everything will be synchronous. And when you kill it, everything will be killed simultaneously. That is called daemon. That also exists. Please explore it. Just say D here, you will find a daemon. There is an option called like a set daemon, kill daemon, etc. Joe, so I just want you to try. That's it. Okay. Because these are advanced topics. So in advance, you need to explore yourself. So I want you to explore your knowledge in it. So you can find is daemon, set daemon, etc. there. Set daemon. Got it? So this will help you to do what you actually want. Understand? Clear now?
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to that. I told you in last class the process util. I forgot to complete that. So we'll replace that. So what is PS util? So PS util you need to install. So this is purely relevant with process. Okay. So what you can do with it? So you can implement your own task manager with the help of process util. So you need to install that. Say pip install PS util. Okay, this is not a pre-installed module. You need to install that. I'm already installed it. Okay, so I don't need it. So I'm already having it. Just say import PS util. Okay, this is called process util. This is called what? It's a process util. Got it? So here I'm going to take this as an example. So here everything is included like a threading, CPU usage. You will find all these like your CPU percentage, CPU count, etc. You will completely find your running process and how much like a system spec, etc. with the help of this module. Like a CPU, how many CPUs are there in your machine? Contains. It's mine is a 4-core machine, says 4, and CPU frequency. So this is my current frequency, CPU percentage. This is how task manager works. So you can build your own task manager. This is my current CPU percentage. Understand? So I'm going to use this process iter. Okay, what is process iter? This will list out the all the running process in your machine. So actually these much of process actually running in my machine. Understand? Okay, so this is how task manager works. So you need to fetch this information and bind it in a UI.
Now, what is the purpose of that name? I dot name.
Name is
I
what?
is a
I is a
I is a
process
variable.
object. No, I is a process
Okay.
object. It just contains complete information about your process, like a class instance. So within a class instance, we have a lot to explore. Like a name is there. Name means what? The process name. The class also return the process ID, and it says started time, and it has a more option like a kill, etc. are there. This is what the class instance. That's it. I is nothing but a class instance. So why I'm using comprehension? Because this is a generated object to make it more memory efficient. Because we have n number of process, right? To make it more memory efficient, they having a generator, and I'm using comprehension to explore it. Understand? See that der you have a I told you, so this is one class instance. When you say der, you'll find out all the possibilities. Like when you say PID, you will get process ID. In a parent, you will find the what is a parent process, and you can suspend your process. You can find the status, and you will find the CPU count. So how many it actually takes.
So what we need that name is I
Well,
dot name. We can use I alone, right?
I that
We
is
just I trade from list only, right?
yes. If
So
you want to list
I
out,
is
just
enough.
like if I say class A, okay, I'm just saying class instantiation. You will get something like that, right? This is what it is. This is what it is. You won't understand what it is. And if you want a name, you need to say a dot name. Got it? This is what I'm doing. So in this iteration, if you want a class name, in last example in a path section I've shown you, right? If you want in like when you say scan der, if you want to test that the usage, just say dot stats. If you want the permission, sorry, I mean that what is that? A time, just say dot time, kind of. So with the help of attribute, this you all know this is attribute. With the help of attribute, we can find it out. So this will actually store the names. And if you want a process ID, this will store process ID. Got it? If you want both together, you need a concatenation. Name, say the name. PID, say PID. Just say dot format. Got it? You will get both. And if I say dot kill, what happened? Every process is going to be shut down, and my machine will be shut down. Every process will be killed, and my machine will begin shut down state. Because this will actually return all the process, including my task manager, my terminal, etc. Everything will be shut down. So I won't say this. Okay. So I want to terminate the particular process. That is, I'm going to kill my Skype. Okay. I'm just saying Skype. I dot name dot. I'm saying lower because I kept it in a lower case. I kept it in a lower case. That's why I'm converting it into lower. Otherwise, what happened? This won't be match, or oh, it is match. So if we start with capital, it won't be a match. So that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. Dot lower. It's a better always to use both in the same case, because Python is a case sensitive. That's why I'm using a same case. I skipped a lower case, and here I'm saying lower. Or you can keep it as an upper case. You just say dot upper. It's up to you. Okay, this is a better way to use comparison. Okay, so what is the count? It actually has a 4 process. So one is running here, one is there, and 2 is actually in a behind, running behind the screen. Okay, if you want to terminate, what to do? This will actually give me a process ID, right? And you can
In the
use
process ID.
os.kill. That's fine. But in os.kill, we need to pass process ID explicitly. So that just assume in task manager, you might find you need to select the process, and on top of it, you have a kill process, right? On top, there is an icon, a button is there, kill. So what happens? This selected process ID will be passed into that function. This is how it is works. They actually using os.kill. But without that, we can go with this. So like in the selected process, just say right click and start killing it. In that, we don't need to pass it because you are already in a process. Got it? That is a difference. Just say dot kill. So here we don't need to pass kill because you are already in your own process. We don't need to pass it. Got it? So this will actually kill all of your 4 process. See that Skype will be terminated. Skype alone will be terminated. If you don't keep this command, my entire machine was terminated. But with the help of this command, only Skype going to terminate. See that it is killed. Understand? So this is how task manager works. We understand? Are you clear? Are you clear?
Yes.
This is called process. Okay. This is all about PSQ. So start practicing it. So you can prepare your own task manager. In next segment, we are going to talk about GUI module. Okay, with the help of GUI, we can prepare your own software applications with the help of GUI programming. Okay. So today we'll talk about an installation. So tomorrow we'll start in detail what is GUI programming and what to do with it. Got it? So for GUI programming, we need a 2 module. In a Python 3 series, I think Tkinter is default. So it's come up with a Tkinter is default. We don't need to worry about that. Just say TK. So Tkinter module is default. You don't need to install from in Python 3 series. Okay. In Python 2, you need to install like in this way, like a pip install Tkinter. But in Python 3, we don't need that. It is already there by default. Okay. So this is, so what is GUI? Any idea what is GUI? What is GUI?
Graphical user interface.
Yeah, that is graphical user interface. What it is? So whatever you're seeing visually, right? That is called user interface. Like this is my browser. It's one of the interface. And when I click a file window, your files are listed in a browser. So in a window, right? This window is what? It's a user interface. And in a last session, I mean in a last topic, we have talked about how to fetch these information. That is called a backend process. In a backend, how to fetch these file information, file folder information. And once you fetch it out, we can bind it in a front end. Understand? So this is what we in the last session we have talked about how to fetch data sets. So we already have that corresponding data in GUI. We are going to talk about how to create this window and how to bind this information into it. This is what we are actually going to talk about in GUI programming. Okay, so we have a lot of the third-party module which help us to create a GUI window. Okay, so one among is what a Tkinter. Okay, so with the help of Tkinter, we can create our own GUI, and apart from that, we have a PySite. So we are going to learn about both our stuff. What is a Tkinter and what is GUI? Okay, so Tkinter is what it is a purely coding base. You need to code all the stuff in your code, but the PySite give you an interface. You can create your own GUI window. Say for example, I'm going to say I'm going to utilize this application. It's called Qt Creator. Okay, so with the help of this window, we can create our own application. So just you choose a main window. This will actually create an empty. Okay, so here are your component. So if you want a button, just drag it out. That's it. The button will be created. And if you want it, if you want calendar, just drag it out your calendar. Okay, and the label is there, tick browser, etc. there. So just drag and drop your component. And if you want a menu, just say file menu. So inside that, say save. This is how they creating it. Understand? So everything was so simple. So you can just drag it, drag and drop, and that UI was created. That's it. So this is actually help us to create an UI. That's it. And we need to bind it with your code programmatically. Once you're done with this, got it? So we'll talk about that. So before moving on to this, first we need to ensure the installation process. Okay, so if anyone using Windows, just please do the screen share and we can install it, so everyone may understand it. So can anyone? Prabhakar, are you using a PC or laptop?
PC. I will share.
Yeah.
I need access. Sharing.
Yeah, I gave. Check it out.
Stop you share because I
Okay,
can't share.
okay. Okay. So you can use this terminal. So you can use your PyCharm also. So go to that PyCharm. The PyCharm is fine also. PyCharm also is fine. In a terminal section, go to the terminal. Bottom there is a terminal is there, right? Or not everyone may using a PyCharm. So go to that command prompt. CMD, start Windows CMD. Yes. Say pip install. Install space PySide, capital P, Y, capital S, side, capital S, IDE, PySide, 2, 2, number 2, yes, enter. So this is our dependencies. We need this. Okay. So this is about 100 MB. So this is the tool. This is actually carried out both of your PySide library along with Qt Creator, which I have shown just before. So with the help of the Creator tool, we can create our own GUI. Okay, so how it is working? So we have two parts. One is preparing an UI. One is a coding part. Once you're done with the UI part, you need to combine with your codings. Got it? So we'll talk about in detail in tomorrow's session. So how to integrate that UI part into coding section, because when we're talking about all the things together, you will get confused. Because today we have only that it's a 40-minute session, so it's about to end. So we're done with the installation today, and we'll discuss in detail tomorrow. So start install a PySide today and create your own GUI. We'll discuss in detail tomorrow how to get integrate with your own application. Got it? So please, I want everyone to install in your own machine and start exploring it. Got it? So yeah, it is installed. Hope everyone seeing right. Is it visible right for everyone? Others?
Yes.
Yeah. So even you can do it simultaneously at the same time.
Bro, is this the same command for Linux?
Yes, exactly. Same command. So once you're done with the installation, just go to that. So simultaneously go to that file explorer. I'll show you where that supported file was exist, or you can find it through. So people might difficult to find. Just say start menu. In a start menu, the Python is there, right? In start menu, yeah, in Python. So just search for Python. Search for Python. Yeah, right click anywhere, IDLE or Python, anything. Yeah, anything, IDLE or Python. Right click, open file location. Open file location. It will actually take it to your the desktop shortcuts folder. Again, you need to say the same thing again because this is a shortcut. It's not an exact location. Just say again, right click, go to file location. Open file location. No, open file location. Open file location. Yes. So here, go to that lib folder. Lib folder. Yeah. So here, site packages. Go to site packages. Site packages in the top bottom. Yes. So there you will find the PySite folder. So here the installation was resides. Okay. So now just check it out whether that the installation was complete or not. Find it out. Just go to that command prompt. Please ensure whether it is completed. Not. It is still installing. Anyway, that the folder was located. That is the folder location. Hope you know how to go to that folder location. So once just go to that folder and yeah. So here in that PySite folder, inside a PySite, there is an icon, right? Designer icon. Designer icon. Right click and create a desktop shortcut. So you don't need to go to this all the times. Right click. Send it to desktop shortcut. Send to desktop shortcut. Send to. Send to. Send to. No, no. Send to. Yeah. Create desktop shortcut. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. Just check it out in a desktop. The desktop shortcut was created. So this is the step to install PySide. So PySide is a library for UI development. Okay. So window E is a shortcut to minimize everything. Yeah. Open that application. Designer application. Launch it. Check whether it is installed. Check it simultaneously. Yeah. So just select a main window. Main window. Yeah. Say create. Yes. Just say create. That's it. So here is your initial GUI window. You can start developing your own application. If you want a calculator, it's up to you. So it is up, depends upon your thinking. So what you want, you can implement it on your own way. Okay. So this is about an installation. We'll discuss how to utilize this application to prepare our own very first GUI. Okay. And before that, each and everyone having your own thought, right? I want to create this application, etc. Just come up with the idea, come up with an idea, so we can start implementing it. It's up to you. So what is the what is the process to create an application? First, you all know. So if you are come up with a computer science background, you all know the software development lifecycle, SDLC. Gathering requirement. That is what. What is that SDLC lifecycle? Analysis, design, implementation, and maintenance, right? So analysis is what? Gathering requirements and finding out what is that needs, dependencies, etc. Okay, and this is about that analyzing. We are gathering about our dependencies and then designing. So next step is about designing your own application, and then implementing what you need to work with a backend stuff, that what is like APIs, etc. What we actually going to prepare data sets, information, etc. And then we need to binding both together, and yeah, and then preparing it. That's it. Okay. So it is about drag and drop. Just drag the click button icon, drag it out, drag it inside anything, any component. Just click and drag it inside. Yeah. So double click. Just say double click. No, in that push button. Say one. No, press one. Yeah, you can edit. Double click. It was selected, right? Double click. It was selected. Double click. It will be blue color. Yeah, just say one. No, just say one. Or select everything. Yeah. No, select everything. Yeah, delete. Enter. Press enter icon. So this is yeah. In a calculator, the one button was created. We just select the button. Just click. It will select your button. Copy paste. Control C. Control V. Control V. Yeah. Just move it upward. Change it into 2 upward. Just move it upward. No. Yeah. Center, from center. Click from center. Yeah. Or you can use that up arrow. Up arrow. You can use up arrow also. Up arrow. No, that will actually change your size. Double click, change that icon. That's it. Double click, change it into 2, 3, etc. Double click. Yeah, 2. Yes. Select and move upward. Use up arrow key, right? You know, right? Up, right, left. In a gaming, we all using right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yes, that's it. So similarly, copy paste and prepare your own calculator. It's up to you. You can design whatever you want. So this is button, and if you want a screen, keep a text box, etc. You can do anything you want to. And tomorrow we'll discuss in detail. So hope that installation was completed, right? So you all know. So now you understand. So leave it until that it's supposed to complete. So this is the way to install PySide. Along with this is the way to utilize it. Okay, you all know where it is was located and how to create a desktop shortcuts. Okay, so thanks Prabhakar. Will discuss in detail about PySide and Tkinter tomorrow. Okay, so any doubts today about installation or PA schedule, etc. Any doubts today?
When can we identify this is completed? It will show installed or
Yes,
anything?
it is we move on to that command. So initial command. It will look like it's like a on top there is a C colon user Prabhakar is there, right?
Yeah.
The line will appear once it is done.
No.
Okay. Okay. So we'll see tomorrow, guys. So thanks for your time. If you have any doubt, just please ask me. Otherwise, we'll see tomorrow. Okay.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah. Bye.